Alrighty, here is my Jim Crow presentation. So, your first impression is probably wow, there are a lot of bees and not a lot of people. And in that sense, you would be correct. There is no people here. I have represented everybody with bees. I tried to hand draw them, but my phone would not pick it up in a good enough quality to put it onto my PowerPoint. So I just went into MS Paint and I did my best. I think it turned out pretty great. And if I was a student, which I am, I would like this way better than just pictures of people. So let's start with nationwide lynching. Nationwide lynching is prominently white people threatening and provoking African Americans to leave because they're black. So what would happen was white people would find out that there's black people in their neighborhoods, and because they're racist, they would go like, "Dang, get out of here," and they would burn down houses and threaten to kill black people simply for being black. Here, that's represented by this can of Be Gone spray, spraying all these bees, and you don't see it because of rules. No bees died, but this guy in the back, he's not looking too hot. Okay, going down, we will go over here to Americanization. Americanization is the idea that immigrants assimilate into American society, or immigrants assimilating into American society would turn them into better citizens. That here is represented by this flower. And see, you have these bees over here that are trying to get to the flower, get into like where all the other bees are, but they can't. Why? That's because of the Chinese Exclusion Act. This was a law prohibiting the immigration of Chinese laborers. So you would have a bunch of these Chinese people who are like, man, China kind of sucks right now where I'm at. America's looking like the place to go. And America said, you have to stay over there, Chinese bees. And if one thing you can get from this little sign here says, hip hooray, Chinese excluded, there's only one hip. There's not hip hip hooray. And that's kind of weird to me. So that's warning. That's a red flag to me. Okay. And then you got these bees that got past the flower, got past that first can of bee spray, but there's another can of Be Gone. This says Be Go, which it says Be Gone, but it just says Be Go. And you have Takeo Ozawa. He was a Japanese American and deemed ineligible for citizenship due to him not being Caucasian. So he was there. He was trying to get his American citizenship, get that full American stuff going. And they told him no. And he said, what the heck? Why not? They said, you're not white enough. And he said, that's dumb. Ooh, voice crack. He said, that's dumb. And they said, I don't care. So this kind of showed that if you weren't white enough, they could just say, no, nuh-uh, you cannot be American, which prevented a lot of bees from becoming American. That's what this beehive represents, America, citizenship. Okay, so you have all these other bees here. They're like, okay, I'm out of here. Like, where are these bees going? They're going over here, up north? You would actually be correct. The Great Migration was the movement of African Americans from the rural South to the industrial North. So you had a bunch of these African Americans who were living in the South, who had their ancestors living in the South, and back then there was slavery, back where their ancestors were there, and probably their grandparents or other parents, or them maybe, who knows, were slaves. And they're like, okay, the South is not the place to be. It's just not good. People are racist. I was a slave over there like yesterday, so I don't want to be here anymore. So they left in a big masses. Okay, so now we're going to go over to these beehives. The Plessy versus Ferguson case. This was a court case constitutionalizing racial discrimination. It was separate but equal. But you would come to find out that that wasn't really the case. See, here's two beehives. This is the type A bee, and this is for type B bee, the BB. So, I don't know, maybe if you look at this from a certain angle or close your eyes to the same side, or same size and like the same, but anyone who looks at it can tell they're not the same. So that was the problem. You would have a bunch of people like, hey, it's separate but equal. This is not equal. What the heck? What happened to our deal? And you have the people in the big beehive, type AB, would go like, I don't care. Do something about it. So all these bees were like, okay, I will do something about it. Okay, so here we have the bees with the swords. The swords represent the different organizations and unions that were made by African Americans. We'll start with the Urban League. The Urban League was a network of different churches and clubs that set up relief efforts and employment agencies to assist African Americans to find work and getting settled in cities. So what would happen was a bunch of these African Americans got together and they would help out other African Americans who were trying to move the city from the Great Migration a lot of the time. Sometimes not. Maybe they were already there and they just needed help. That's okay. They accept everybody. And they would kind of help them out, kind of not really teach them the ropes, but, help them out financially a little bit, kind of hold their hand. And then you got I'm going to butcher this name, Partido El Mexicano, or PLM, which is like the Urban League, but for Mexican Americans. So it was like the same deal, helping them out. But instead of African Americans, it was prominently Mexican Americans. Then you get the Mutualistas. Mutualistas? Ooh, I said that weird. Which is an organized group of Mexican Americans, my bad, helping their community with loans and legal assistance. So this was like the kind of people that would be in PLM or whatever, and they would help out. They would help out because, granted, I can't do my taxes, and I was born in America. So I don't even know how Mexican Americans back then, if they just moved to America, would know how to do their taxes, because I don't. I hope that doesn't sound weird. Okay. Society of American Indians. This was formed to help address some of the many problems of American Indians in ways like general welfare, education, civil rights, and local government. So this was kind of similar to the other ones, where it was there to help them out because they didn't have enough representation or assistance, and they needed some, so that was formed. Then we got the Jewish Anti-Defamation League, which was to help Jewish people secure justice and fair treatment. This is the ADL, which is normal Anti-Defamation League, but I couldn't find any good just Jewish Anti-Defamation League things. So this will do. It's like the same thing, but this one is just Jewish. So those represent the swords, the tools used by the people to kind of fight back against the system and kind of help themselves, get them a standing point. And then we got the big bees over here. You got the poll booth, which these bees are not allowed to get into because of Be Gone. And you're like, okay, what the heck is up with this Be Gone spray? This is disenfranchisement, or the exclusion of a right or privilege, especially voting. And then you're like, okay, that's neat and all, but what's that about? Well, I'll tell you. Just hold on. So you have poll tax, which is if you vote, you got to pay some money, which a lot of African Americans, they were struggling to eat. So let alone like pay taxes just to vote, they couldn't do that. And you have literacy tests, which, not all African Americans could read. And people knew that. So they'd be like, too bad, so sad. Should have learned how to read, which they didn't have the choice. And like, okay, at least it's like that for everyone. Actually, you would be wrong. Because of the grandfather clauses, if like you had a grandparent who could vote, you were exempt. Like parent, you were exempt from it. So all the black people were like, hey, what the actual heck? My grandparent was a slave. Heck no, he couldn't vote. And all these white people go like, sucks to be you. My grandfather was white, so he could vote. And now I can vote without knowing how to read. So that wasn't very fair. So now we go on to the big B's. Let's start with Booker T. Washington. He was born into slavery. He founded the Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute. He was an author, educator, and advisor to multiple presidents. So he also wanted gradual diversity. So he was thinking, okay, right now, there is not equality. But if we play the long game, wait it out, I think we can do it. We should do that, actually. Let's not, get ahead of ourselves. We have to take our time. We have to make this work. Otherwise, if we rush it, it won't be well. And you can see him here sitting. The man was styling. He had the fit. He had the look. And he was all around kind of super duper cool. Then we go to George Washington Carver. He also has Washington in his name. Isn't that silly? He was an agricultural scientist and an inventor. Now, he wasn't really on the front lines like everybody else, but his presence alone was kind of enough, He changed the agricultural world by inventing stuff. I thought he invented peanut butter, but he did not, which was kind of a bummer to hear because he looks like he would like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Then we got Webb Dubois. So, I did not want that. There we go. He was a civil rights activist, sociologist, founded the NAACP, which I believe is National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. There we go, I got it right. And he led the Niagara movement and wanted immediate equality. So, unlike Washington back there, he wanted answers, he wanted results, and he wanted them now. He was like, okay, waiting sounds stupid and it's going to take too long. Sure, our great grandchildren might be equal, but what about us? What about our children? How is that fair to us? I'm not going to wait, neither should you. And he was really more, really getting the job done then and there, which is cool. You know, he can do him. He also has style and mustache and goatee, which you can always appreciate. And then you got the woman, the myth, the legend, Ida B. Wells. She was out here styling. She was a journalist, activist, researcher, battled racism and sexism at the same time. She was dual wielding righteousness and justice. She founded the NACW, which is the National Association for Colored Women, or of Colored Women, I think, and founded the Anti-Lynching campaign. The Anti-Lynching campaign is kind of self-explanatory. It's a campaign that was against lynching, which I think that should be a given for most campaigns. But, that's okay. She was really getting out there. Uh, I think this has actually been taking like a while to do. I think it's felt like a while. But that about wraps up my presentation. I hope it's good. Um, Despite what it looks like I made this in 3 seconds, but I assure you, this took a very long time, you know? And if I could end this on one note, it would be probably, uh, just like my blood type, I say B positive.